Thank you to everyone tuning in tonight on Zoom and Facebook Live. Welcome to tonight's show. We're so glad that you can join us tonight. My name is Omar Columbus. I served on active duty in the Air Force for 12 years with deployments in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. I'll be co-hosting tonight along with the amazingly talented Jenny Pacanowski. Welcome to the Veteran Voices, the interview sessions. This is a series of intimate artist conversations interviewing veterans whose art as actors, poets, visual artists, and playwrights are featured frequently in Poetic theater productions programming. As audience members tonight, you are more than welcome to ask any questions you like at the end of the program. So please join us while we take a few moments to get to know the veterans behind the voices. Jenny?
Welcome to the interview sessions. I'm Jenny Pacanowski. I was a combat medic in Operation Iraqi Freedom. I am the founder and director of Women Veterans Empowered and Thriving. And I am now the program director of Poetic Theater Productions Veteran Voices. I would like to tell you tonight a little bit about Poetic Theater Veteran Voices. Warrior cultures of the past, such as the Greeks, the Romans, and the Native Americans, welcome their military warriors home in rituals of storytelling. We follow that tradition and create a modern interpretation of homecoming for all veterans that served, whether at home or abroad. The Veteran Voices program is designed to cultivate a thriving and compassionate environment for veterans and the family members of veterans to speak their truths, share their experiences, and bear witness together. Now, on to our guest. We are excited to welcome Miguel Faña to tonight's show. Miguel was born in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, and was raised in Boston, Massachusetts. He was inspired to join the Army at age 19 by his father, Miguel J. Faña, who served 22 years, including 2 tours in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan. After serving overseas in Camp Humphreys, South Korea, Miguel then went on to the University of Massachusetts, Boston, where he double majored in music and theater. He has since enjoyed an acting career that included a regional tour with the new Repertory Theater's Classic Stage Company, earning his master's in fine arts degree in acting from the University of Tennessee, and with roles on TV like Orange is the New Black and The Good Wife. Miguel is a gifted poet and has participated in Poetic's Veteran Voices writing and performing workshops. He will soon be making his playwriting debut in the Veteran Voices Rites of Passage, a part of Poetic Theater's Productions' 10th Annual Poetic License Festival, during which he will be performing a 12-minute piece of poetic theater that he wrote and crafted in collaboration with 2 of our previous interview sessions guests, Karen Alvarado and Johnny Meyer. Welcome, Miguel. Would you like to say hello?
Yes, I would. Yes. Thank you so much, Jenny. Hi, Omar. Yeah, I've never heard anybody read that before. That's great.
I practiced it a lot to make sure it didn't sound boring.
No, it certainly did not. And you look back, like, I can't believe I lived that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Absolutely. So let's just jump right into a clip from your performance in Poetic Theater Veteran Voices Reckoning. Yay.
Here we go. All right.
Let's do it.
Before, so let's see how this goes. Okay. If I wasted certain parts of my life, like going to college versus riding a bike, like one I'll use forever and recall from time to time, the other's an endeavor that I use to fill the time. Who would I be without the uncertainty, without the awkward moments, a better person, certainly. I came out, without a doubt, like a bad date on the rebound. Looking back, rewind the tape. That was me in second grade, dancing bad to Michael Jackson, my first time on a stage. Now, I'm a Dominican immigrant with an irreversible fate, looking back on bad decisions or better ones I could have made. If when you die, could you go back and whisper in your ear not to do that? Or play it this way instead, green light instead of red, maybe not instead of yes, be alive instead of dead. Would it have been different? Would a difference have been made? Or would it have made the same difference with different words being said? Would I still be longing for this same other life, or would I still be writing the same words out of spite? Now I'm practicing social distance, like it's a sport in the Olympics. The finish isn't instant, but I want to go the distance. But I'm running in the mud, and all I'm feeling is resistance. And I'm thinking, what if I just sink? Stop fighting and shrink. Let the ocean current take over. Another chain in the link. Feel the pull of the tugboat as it pulls me to shore. Another man fished out, still crying out for more. In the times we're most uncertain, it's your friends that get you through. The ones you can make music with and help you sing the blues. In that moment, in the after, your mind is to wander. And in those times, in our hearts and minds, and mine is what I wonder. I reinforce the spoken word and the love from whence it came, for nothing is but what it is until it has a name. Now, close your eyes. No, really, close your eyes. I only got 4 minutes, guys. Just imagine. What if you were a god or a goddess or a they-dess? What if you were an eternal being and you could do anything? Explore the infinite cosmos in a never, ever, ever ending story. Visit distant planets. Examine severed glories. Count the rings of Saturn like a split oak tree. Count the moons of Jupiter, probably more than 3. What if you could do all this, and when you curled up at cosmic night, you dream your own adventure, your separate other life? Say, a swashbuckling tale. Hoist the mast and sail. A renegade pirate who never ever fails. Over a few months, you become a master of your dreams, knowing you are in control. Too much control, it seems. Because when you're in danger, when you have to walk the plank, no need to talk to strangers. You can always snap back to reality. There's no gravity. Then you wake up and then up the ante. No take backsies. You walk past the plank, hit the water and sank, get loose from your ropes and swim for the bank. You feel the spears zip past. How long can you last? The ocean current's moving. No, I'm not fooling. So you swim faster to the shore, an exhilarating chore. But then you feel a sudden tug and then you say, no more. You wake, for heaven's sake, in the cosmos once again. You can't believe you feel this feeling bubbling up, and then you name this feeling fear, and you make a solemn vow that the next dream that I will dream, it will be real somehow. You raise the final ante, and now you are all in, reflecting on the times you failed, came up short, the end. But this time you're committed. You've made a solemn vow, because the dream that you are dreaming is the life we're living now. My name is Miguel Faña, and I reinforce the power of today.
It's always so fun to watch
Wow.
the expressions.
I had to decide whether I was going to audience participate in my own piece. And I'm like, oh, I kind of want to take a peek, and I did. But yeah, wow, it was all right.
So we'll jump in right with that question. What are your reflections about that Veteran Voices program, about your experience, about watching your performance after doing
Sure,
it?
sure. Going
Yeah.
into it, I was, I mean, I've written some things here and there, but I never like performed them really, or I just performed them for friends. And I'm always kind of like, oh, give me some good words, give me Shakespeare, give me T.S. Eliot. But then when you have to kind of put yourself on the line and just, what comes out comes out. That was really like, because I think we talked about it, because I remember you were running it with us, Jenny. I remember that, and it was like I wrote quite a bit, and I had to like dial it way, way back. I know that was a very well deserved note, yeah. Um, and I find myself kind of doing that now with this piece as well, and it's like making that negotiation with what do I keep and where am I making the point, like just trusting the audience to be just trusting that the audience is more intelligent than me.
Yeah.
They probably are. So so trusting that and letting them make their own decisions and not having me be the one to pull the boat so far. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a real challenge. Yeah.
It's that balance between like, I guess it would be like spoon feeding or like, will you go on this journey with me? Just like you said in your piece. Like, are you in? Are we doing this together? And that's what's
Yeah.
interesting, about the reference to the piece that you're writing for Rites of Passage, coming up April 18th. I hope I said the right date. Um,
Yes, you did. Yes.
okay, good. So yeah, it is a whole different. And so you segued right into our next question. So how is it? I mean, aside from what you've already said, how is it to be an actor related and then to be a writer, like to feel, you've mastered your craft of acting. I mean, you've been in a lot of cool stuff. So how does it feel to be a writer?
I cannot propose to be a master at anything
I was gonna hope you were gonna take
at
the
all.
compliment. I was like, take it, Miguel, take the compliment.
I appreciate it very much. But like all of us, I am very much a work in progress.
Mm,
I'd say this has been, what it is that you write something, right? And you think, oh, that's great. And then you go to like say it and memorize it, and you're like, oh, wait, that's not so great. And you start like ad-libbing stuff. And then you have to negotiate with like, okay, do I keep the ad-lib?
mm,
Or do I keep what I wrote and trust what I wrote? And sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. But it's that negotiation of like figuring out, okay, this just a good idea to me, and then having Karen come in direct and be like, and just kind of like, yeah, Miguel, that's okay, but I like it the way you did it the other way.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's nice.
yeah.
It's nice to have like the part of the reason we created the poetic license, like the rites of passage, was to give some of veterans that have been doing the 4-minute pieces for years or the shorter pieces to have the support like that. To have like, oh, here's a director and here's a company to work with, and you can make something bigger in full production. So this is like the first time that we've really tried to do this with longer pieces and then with the poets in between. So it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting for me too, because I'm in the show as well and doing a longer piece. It's just a different experience than just not like it's a different experience than the spoken word poetry we've done in the past, for sure.
Yes, yes. And are you finding that it's figuring out how the technology is going to help tell the story is also a bit of a challenge as well? Have you found that as a hurdle as well?
I find ourselves talking about the space without being in the space because right now we're doing rehearsals on Zoom.
Same here. I just did one today with Karen, like right here in the living room and everything. And it's funny because like you end up finding different things because you don't have that to rely on to
Yeah.
kind of lean into. So I just have to focus on what I'm saying and how we can tell that story almost minimalistically to have the words be the thing that drives the whole thing. I don't know about you, but I found that like why I'm doing this at the very, very onset was like you look back on it now, and that was the thing that gets you through.
Yeah.
I found that like the fact that I'm doing this to tell my parents' story kind of took the onus off of me, and I just want to get it right so that they don't yell at me.
Omar, did you want to reflect on what your rehearsal process has been like so far? Because
Well,
Omar
I
has a piece
do.
as well.
Yeah. Oh, please. Yeah.
I'm excited too to be sharing my first longer written piece. I actually have written a short story and shared it with the producers, and they said this has to be adapted for the stage. And it's a process with it being produced over in London and being stage directed in New York City, and I'm out here in California. So this whole entire process of Zoom theater is a growing experience, a learning experience, and building community all over the world for veterans. And you know that, Miguel, Miguel?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just want to say something that resonated with me from the piece you just shared is from Reckoning. The friends that get you through. Your reference to line, and it's so true. It's like, even with what we're doing right now, it's about so much of it is about the friends that support us and encourage us and pull us while we're going through this creative process, this the production process, and everything we're juggling between that and our regular lives and the life of being isolated with COVID. And it's just so many things we're doing, and it's the people that get us through. And also another image that popped in my head was you dancing to Michael Jackson's Bad. I bet that was pretty fun.
That was in second grade in Copeland Elementary School in Augusta, Georgia.
All right for that.
Yep. My dad was in Fort Benning, I think, or he was just starting. And my first time ever performing was I choreographed this whole like thing to like Michael Jackson, everything. And I'm like in second grade, crotch grab, everything, all that. Oh yeah, that was yes, that's real. And that's where that line came from. And I'm like, that was my first time on a stage. Yeah, I didn't think of it that way, but that was it, man.
Well, Miguel, let me ask you this then. How did your military experiences affect how you express yourself through your art, your writing, your acting, your performance?
Well, I joined in the military when I was 19, and that was it. I wasn't planning on anything else. I was going to be a lifer like my dad. I, I wasn't thinking GI Bill. I wasn't thinking college. Nothing like that. So when that didn't pan out, you have that. I think there's that kind of like PTSD of just not knowing what to do with your energy. I'm sure you guys can relate to that. Like, no matter how you get out of the military, there's always an adjustment period. Because I don't want to call it institutionalization because it's not quite that, but you just get used to life in a certain way. I mean, you know what you're going to dress like.
Yep.
It's going to be similar to the day before. You know where you're going to be, most likely, and you probably know what you're going to do. So your job is to just show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that, like the adjustment, and it's not institutionalized. It's conditioning. It's
Yeah, that's a
brain
better
stuff.
word for it. Thank you.
It could even be like somebody that went to the same job, any job, every day for whatever 4 years. But it's so compressed in the military. It's not quite like, a civilian job that you go to everywhere, because we do have a uniform. We are trained in a very particular way for very specific reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And,
and you get to see the same people like over and over again, and you get used to each other. Even if you're just in a unit for a year, you're still like, close, So not having that anymore, it took a while to figure out, well, what do I want to do? And that took months. And it was actually, my mom was thinking about going back to college, and she invited me to UMass Boston, and I kind of fell in love with the campus because there was a lot of construction going on, and I was kind of feeling like I was reconstructing myself.
Yeah.
And that was like, you know what? I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go for it. Yeah, and I started studying music, of all things. So I would say the military affected me, and it gave me a structure. But then once that structure was gone, it gave a void that I had to fill, because I knew what that was, to have a structure, and I knew it was important to have it. So it gave me that sense of structure. And then oddly enough, by it not being in there anymore, that's what gave me the direction to want to put some of my energy into some structure. Yeah, for sure. And ironically enough, I was a 35 mic human intelligence collection, which is like interrogations, talking to people, hearts and minds, that kind of thing. It's all acting. All of it is like, it's all like good cop, bad cop, get to know what do you want from the person in the room right now. All of that was acting. As a matter of fact, even the people that they hired to like train us in Fort Huachuca, Arizona, they're all actors. It's a script and everything. And like that, I was like, I didn't see it that way until I was like well into my college years. And then I realized that you could actually, this is a path that you can go down, and you don't know until you know, until you see somebody else do the thing that you want to do. And you're like, oh, I can do that, Lin-Manuel Miranda.
I agree with you there, Miguel, because when I ended my career in the military, I was working in intelligence as well. And I had to get up in front of people and brief and do public speaking on a regular basis. So I moved to New York City to pursue acting as well, and ended up in poetry, where I can stand up there and basically I know how to command the room and get everybody to listen to me. So that transferred for me as well.
Yes, you do, Omar. Yes, you do.
I wish I would have seen Omar, because I've seen Jenny. I'm like, yes, we've worked together. I'm like, I've never seen Omar's stuff. I'm like, I'm gonna check that out, actually.
Definitely, I'll get it to you so you can see it.
Love to. Yeah.
So, Miguel, are you feeling up to sharing a part of your bigger piece with us? A little teaser?
Oh, yes, sure. I'll share the very beginning part of it. It's the whole thing is in Migrantes, the Faña journey. And I wasn't going to correct you, Jenny, because Faña is what it's become. I do it myself. Oh, when I'm in like customer service mode, and I know that like if I say Faña, they're going to make a what?
Yeah.
I can say Faña, no worries. It's and that's part of the story of acclimating to another culture. With us, it was through language.
Yeah.
So yeah. But this is in Migrantes, the Faña journey. In all living things, and some not so living, there is an agreed upon energy. The energy coursing through your veins is the same energy that lights up a star. We are the stuff of stars, starting off as tiny miracles. They got the chance to come up for air, to come up for breath, to come up with words, to stumble into our lives like a falling star, falling so far down, we end up and out into the endless, smokeless air at the edge of the infinity, and boom, energy. Energía. We are here. We listen. We grow. Becoming our ancestors' wildest dreams. Wow. Into the life we're living now. And then off we go into the Faña journey. It's 1987. Miguel Joaquin just had me,
So without totally spoiling the piece and like giving it all away, because we want to tease people a little bit to like show up and watch on April 18th, tell us a little more about the story, your story.
Yeah, it's super, super simple. I found the best stories are usually simple. It's the story of my father and my mother moving to the United States for the first time, and my father eventually joining the military. My mother finding her path too, because we learned English at the same time. Like, we would like correct each other, and she was really adamant about like speaking English every day because she noticed something called a language ceiling, which is the working title for this show. And a lot of people haven't heard that before. There is always a ceiling about anything you want to do. And the language ceiling is that thing where like it's subconscious, but the minute you can sense somebody doesn't have command of English, you automatically kind of assume that A, they're not intelligent, or B, they're not smart, which is, BS. But there is a ceiling of expectations, depending on how someone speaks. And being able to have control over that is a ceiling that can kind of is worth breaking into. And that's the story that we're getting into. So it's like how my mom and I learning English together, like she would say stuff like, oh, that word is important. I'm like, no, ma, important. And she's like, okay, I got it. And I would kind of laugh at her. Then she'd give me the mom look.
All right for the look.
Whoa, that's a serious mom look.
Lo siento, mama. I'm gonna go over here. Okay. Yeah. So it's that story of us coming up. As much as I can fit into 12 minutes anyway.
I have another quick question. Like, so your dad was in the military for 22 years. So essentially you were like an army brat?
That is completely accurate.
I was like, can I say this too?
Yeah. No. Yeah. And if you're raised in the military, you're spoiled, but it's not like a monetary spoiling. It's
Right.
like an experience of culture spoiling because you move all the time, and which is great because you get to know a lot of the world. But you also, as I realize, it's hard to trust people to put roots down because you'll just end up having to say goodbye in 6 months. And grief is the price you pay for loving someone. And having to say goodbye is that price. And then you don't want to get close to people because well, my family's just going to move to another place 6 months from now. So that was us growing up all over. I don't quite get into that far in. It's only 12 minutes. I think we're in Boston by the end of it, but not like permanently. So, but yeah, that was us coming up together. And I actually had to do interviews with my parents and like learning all the stuff of how hard it was, the stuff I didn't know. And the stuff I kind of knew, but only could assume until I actually heard it from my mom's mouth, and like telling that story and learning that for myself has been really, really fulfilling. Yeah. And already before it's even been done. So I'm grateful for that. This is a really cool idea. I didn't know it was like rites of passage stuff. I didn't know that was like the theme.
It fell right into the theme perfectly. You did it wonderfully. And we have a perfect arc for the show too. So it was like magic. Everything was meant to be as it was.
The best magic is the magic you didn't prepare for. And it just happens.
Omar, did you want to talk about the language ceiling at all? Because I know that you have experienced that with your accent as well.
Oh yeah, definitely growing up in the South.
What part of the South?
Eastern North Carolina.
North Carolina, like Fayetteville, Durham.
East of there, I'm from a small town called Washington, North Carolina. We're a coastal town on the inner banks, not the outer banks.
Cool.
But growing up in the South, I never had an issue with the way I sounded when I talked until I went into the Air Force. And then you realize nobody sounds like you. Nobody sounds like you. I had to overcome that very same thing you're talking about, the ceiling, because instantly when I would meet people, they would hear my accent and automatically take me as being dumb or ignorant because and
you can feel that. That's the thing. You can feel that, Yeah.
Yeah. You can feel it from people because you could tell that either they don't pay you any attention or they kind of start doing other things. And working in a job like intelligence where your job is to brief and people who aren't taking you seriously, you have to find ways to, I wouldn't say compensate, but find ways to
negotiate that. Yeah.
Exactly. Negotiate.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure.
Because I used to think, don't let the accent fool you. I'm still going to give you the exact.
I'm still gonna give you the goods.
The good.
Okay.
Good. So definitely, I feel you there with the Sill and language.
Have you found that, like, as you're finding your voice, those impediments are the thing that makes you interesting?
Exactly. It's something about the charm and the Southern accent. And I
Hmm.
realized that have opened doors for me all over the world, everywhere I've been stationed at. And living in New York City for 14 years, it's a city of accents. And I
Oh,
realized that a lot of people get comfortable quicker with a Southern accent than they do when they hear other accents.
yeah.
They let
Get
their
an
guard
ego.
down and let you in. So that's been beneficial for me. Just learning to use it when I need to. And at certain times where in a more of a business format, if I need to get business stuff done, not changing who I am, but just slowing down a little bit and articulating just a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. It's that. What is it? It's like code switching.
Codes,
You know,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. You get into what I call like customer service voice, like
Hmm.
job interview voice. Well, hello.
Yeah,
Oh, hi there.
exactly.
Yes, yes. I went to Stanford. It's great. No, so, I mean, I'm exaggerating, obviously, but it's like it really is that negotiation and like having the because your voice ain't going anywhere. That's your voice, but like being able to turn that on and off was something I became increasingly fascinated by. The fact that my dad's been living here for 40 years and todavía he's still talking. Hey, tú sabes ahí, I'm gonna tell you something, Omar. Omar, you want some chuletas? You want?
Oh, I love chuletas. That's my favorite. But it almost becomes survival because it allows you to walk into various rooms.
Survival is the word. That's like exactly what the whole thing is about, and how much of yourself, because you're always going to have to sacrifice a part of yourself. Like being in front of people, you're putting your heart out there. That's the game, really. But how much of that you can give without. And that stuff will always come back. It always regenerate. Even if the show goes bad, even if you go up on your line, it doesn't matter. Like that's not the point. The point is you put yourself out there and you put yourself forward. And that is something you can communicate even without speaking anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is that energy, and you speak about that so articulately in your pieces about the star energy and the cosmos, and I see this throughway with your writing about that focus on energy, which I really really enjoy. It's like mythical almost.
It seems to keep coming back. That wasn't something I originally that you picked up on that. I didn't write that at first. I went right into like the story, but I did a reading one day and we did something and it was kind of like an our town thing. And you know how it starts up kind of really surreal and abstract?
Yeah.
And I kind of really like that notion of like just not getting right to it, but something that seems out there. But then you have that journey as an audience member of like, wait, that's not so out there. And that's the point about the accents that I wanted to point out is that just because somebody is talking a little bit different doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to connect with that person. You might connect a little bit better because you had to take a journey. And I,
Yeah.
was, and I dig that. I really, really do. Oh, yeah. And Omar, the flip side is when I got home and you get like the cousins and aunts and uncles, it's like, why do you talk so white?
Exactly. Oh my
And I'm
God.
like, why is the way I speak now? Why is that automatically associated with like a racial tone? You know what I mean?
Either
I
that or
was
being bougie.
exactly,
No,
exactly. And you know what, Omar? Yes, we bougie. That's how it goes. Sorry,
it's survival. Like I said, it allows you to walk in different rooms.
yeah.
And don't get me wrong, when I need to, it comes back out. I can bring it back out there. But
See,
but
I'm
in
from
terms of
Boston, and you get me going once. If I get with other people, if you get with other people who are from North Carolina, it
exactly,
just comes out.
exactly, because it's in the
Yeah,
air.
I get around people from Boston like, yo, dude, you want to go to Dunkin' Donuts and get a bacon, egg, and cheese, dude? Yeah, kid, let's get out of here.
And I could tell instantly, like I worked in customer service in Manhattan, and I could tell instantly when another Southerner came in, and even if they were trying to hide it, it was like the hairs would stand up on the back of my neck. I'm like, hey y'all, I know you gotta be from down south.
It's like your Southern Spidey sense. You're like, wait,
exactly.
You from Fayetteville? The Southern one I learned in Tennessee was they don't say thank you. They say, I like saying this too, appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Yep.
I like that. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Okay. Yeah. I took that. I still use it. Oh yeah.
Little things.
And yes, I have done that thing to get out of trouble sometimes where you do like the mucho gusto, no hablo inglés. Me tengo que ir para la guagua. Yes, no hot dog. I just saw you speaking 5 minutes ago, Miguel. Crap. Wow. You caught me. All right, what do you want? My goodness. Yeah.
All right.
What were we talking about again? What were we doing?
Yeah, we're doing something live. I thought we were just hanging out, but I guess we're doing something. So switching gears, we asked this of every single interviewee. So the military has implemented and removed Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and recently reversed the ban on transgender individuals serving openly. Mm-hmm. I experienced being a woman in the military, which affected how I act in service, including the way I used my voice. Because if I want to be taken seriously, I speak lower. When I'm hanging out with my friends, it's more laughy and funny and more Jenny. And my kids always say I bring my knife hand out when I really want to
and you just bring it down. The knife, I've never heard that, the knife hand.
Oh yeah, the knife hand's a thing, man.
I hear you. Yeah.
And most people, assumed either I'm a spouse when I walk into the room, like a military spouse, or that they would question if I served in combat or not. So I developed this poem called Combat Dick, which is, I will pull it out and show you.
I don't think you can. Is there a rating system on Facebook?
You'll see it in the show. All right.
Okay.
Hold your horses. There's my teaser.
There you go. I will hold for it.
So there were so many. What did you say, Omar Love?
Just April 18th. Everybody come and
watch
it.
There it is. Dropping it.
Yeah. Oh, and I feel you, Jenny. As you know, Omar, in Manhattan, there are certain buildings that have doormen. All the doormen look like me. And I've had several times where I go to hold the door for somebody as they come in and like, oh, thank you. Are you new? I'm definitely. And I go, oh no. And sometimes I go with it like, yeah, I started today. I'll tell them you say hi. But once in a while I'll bust out like, no, I live here.
Yeah, I think that's nice. Yeah, like here you go.
Yeah, but it's never out of like malice or anything. It's just kind of like, because they don't mean it that way. It's just what you get used to, It's a cultural thing. I know change is slow, and just give people a chance to, you're fabulous until proven boring.
That's beautiful. Another T-shirt, Zena. Another T-shirt. She's out in the audience.
Yes.
So our question to you is, unless you had one more comment, you got something. What do you need? Okay. Did the military's strict protocols on gender, sexuality, and the general stripping of our identities affect your service, or more accurately, your integration and your expression in the arts? So we touched on this a little bit about the conditioning. Is there anything else you'd like to unpack with the gender, the sexuality, regaining your identity when you became a veteran?
When I was in the Army, I was still in what I call my straight years. So that wasn't even like on the radar as a thing. And I think I met more gay people in the Army than I did anywhere else, including theater, believe it or not. And I would say it really doesn't matter, because when you're in a position that you need somebody to be there for you, the last thing on my fucking mind is where you choose to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, can
Yeah.
you do the job? Are you a loyal person? Are you a dependable person? That trumps anything else in that setting at all. And I think a lot of military people feel the same exact way. I don't want to, say what someone else would feel, but like all of my interactions with military people have always been kind of like, who are you first, as opposed to who you sleep with first. You know what I mean? It's funny. You know, it's funny. The people who seem to care a lot about that stuff aren't in the military. Like, and if they are, it's very much they're that person. And hey, you be with that person. You guys do you. They have our separate little cliques and tribes, whatever. But I think it's fabulous that you can serve your country regardless of what society thinks you are, and the fact that we've had to go back and forth with it just tells me, A, there's still minds to change, and B, that if it was, this is the thing in one of my lines in the piece, just because something is easy doesn't mean it's right. Yeah, that was something my mom was saying to me, and it's like, just because it's like obvious to us doesn't mean that it isn't something you have to keep bringing up and keep fighting for. I remember the interview we got this guy named Quentin Crisp, who's one of the realest people you ever hear from. He's passed away now, a long time. But he was saying you keep bringing it up until people get so bored by it. They're just like, okay, fine, you guys have rights.
I think that's how women did it, and keep doing it. Like, here it is again.
Keep bringing it again. Yes, just keep bringing it, and you'll be the person like, oh, Jenny's gonna say
the thing again. She's gonna bring her combat tech into it.
And you know what? One day, be like, you know what, Jenny? Fine. You guys get a place at the table. Here's a chair. I don't care anymore. I don't care. But just keep bringing it up, because that's our mission, if there is one. I'd say, yeah. Especially in the military.
I remember when I was in it was an AIT, and we were in a bay of 90 women. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't even imagine that now. Like, even saying it, like 90 women in one place it was just like dangerous. But at night, the lights would go out, and then you would hear the feet.
Oh, right.
Everyone's switching beds and doing their thing, and and I just said to my bunkmate, because we're in bunk beds no less, right? I was like, just don't shake the bunk bed, because I'm trying to sleep. I was like, I don't give a shit.
Keep it civil, guys.
Yeah, just like, or go to the other bunk bed.
Yeah, that was me in AIT too, because it was like co-ed and everything, military intelligence, and it was like an Air Force base. Omar, got you. But like, it's the same thing. Running back, even I was running back and forth a little bit. Like, full disclosure. Yeah. But it's the thing unsaid that's said all the time. You know what I mean? Everybody knows it. Nobody says anything, and as long as you end up where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be, wearing the thing you're supposed to wear, we're good.
I tell you, growing up down south, I had to face racism and discrimination on numerous occasions. Mm-hmm. I was forced to realize as a child that the world was not going to be fair to me. And the military was just as challenging for me as civilian life. And the Air Force was mostly comprised of white males. So I struggled at first to conform and fit into those standards that were expected of me. I was constantly called lazy by my very first supervisor. And no matter how hard I worked, I could not make him to see me as anything other than that, just lazy.
Yeah.
And my only escape was to keep my head down and work hard and study as hard as I could to get promoted and promote my way out of the constant abuse. So Miguel, what were your experiences with race while you were on active duty?
Well, as an ethnically ambiguous, I look back on it in my experience, I got a pass on a lot of things. Yeah. because you would have an assumption with the way I look at first, but then the way I speak, I would get passes on things, and like I said, those are my straight years as well. So you get passes on things that you're not even aware of at the time, and it kind of drives me nuts that a lot of my contemporary colleagues, I call them, like they wouldn't see it, or like, oh, that's just the way it is. But until you don't have it, or you look back on how somebody else was treated, you realize that, yeah, some people get a pass and some people don't, all the time. And if you're one of those people that do not get a pass, it can feel, like you said, it can feel very claustrophobic, and you just put your head down and you become the gray man, just blend into the background. And it's one of those things where, like, now that I've come out years later, all of a sudden, when it becomes fashionable, then everybody's woke. Then Coca-Cola's moving their all-star game. But then you remember, these are the same motherfuckers.
Yes.
It was the same people, not 20 years ago, who would have shut that same door. So thank you, but also I see you,
That was good.
Yeah, and I that's how I felt about the whole thing, because when I was in Korea, the Korean soldiers, the Katusas that we were with, they would get treated like a different way, like almost like a second class soldier, and I hated that shit because they were great to me, man. Like I really didn't like, and then years and years later, we have like Stop Asian Hate is a big thing now, and it's like it's just the same. It's just their turn now. For Dominicans, it was our turn in the Scarface era in the 80s. That was our turn to be on the bottom of the totem pole. After 2001, it was Muslims, and it's always something else, except for the people who don't want to take responsibility for things. They always seem to be the one throwing stones down. And I always remember that, because it doesn't really matter. Yeah, and it's like, how do you treat somebody today is the most important part of all of it. And yeah, like we said, it gets boring, but doesn't mean you stop. Yeah, you keep waving that flag, baby. Yeah. I just have more flags to wave now.
Quick question with that, Miguel. Because I know for me personally, moving to New York City after my military service and pursuing art and pursuing it to heal, pursuing it to express myself, pursuing it as my passion. I started in photography and found poetry, and now I'm doing painting and now writing plays.
Oh,
and the
cool.
Interesting thing is, just as a minority trying to break into the art world and be respected for your craft, be respected for your talent and your energy. Did you face any opposition, like when you go on auditions and?
Oh, every day. It's a lot of times it feels like it's like a keyhole that everyone's trying to fit through. And it's like, and I have to constantly remind myself, it's like there's nothing to reach for. I mean, the film world in New York is like this. The theater world in New York is like that. It's even more. And it's one of those things where if you're not in the circle, it feels like, oh, well, it's like, nepotism. It's who you know. It's like, oh, they slept their way, blah, 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 this, and that. And you make all of that stuff. And that's just like feeding your own ego, because I didn't get the job. So I've seen it happen where, like, yes, you have that feeling or whatever, but as soon as it happens for you and you find yourself in the circle, what's the first thing you say? Oh, well, that's how it works.
I love that.
And it's a very human thing to do. It's very, one thing I learned over the course of COVID of the past year. Remember when everybody was like hoarding toilet paper?
Yeah.
Yeah, I I looked it up and I was like, why are people like doing this? And it's something called risk management theory. Is when there's a lot of chaos going on outside, we as humans we tend to double and triple down on the things we can't control. In this case, it's toilet paper. So if there's a whole bunch of chaos in casting and about getting jobs or this or that, you double and triple down on what you can control, which is like, how do I present myself into this room as somebody who can walk and talk?
Yeah.
And that's the game. That's it. I wish it was more complicated than that, because then like we'd have something to work on and we'll get there. But no, it really, the rest of that stuff, and like the director's son looking like you, or like the casting director, you remind him of his ex-boyfriend. That stuff is all none of your damn business. And if it was meant to work for you, it will work for you. And if not, you'll do something else.
I agree.
Yeah. Or maybe or get fat. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Like you eat a lot during COVID. Not gonna lie.
I have too. Miguel, as I look back over my military career, the 12 years that I spent in uniform were just an act. I created a persona of the airmen that I thought that they wanted. It's a far cry from the person that I really was behind the camouflage.
Mm-hmm.
I tell myself as an airman to embrace all of the challenges that were coming my way, because there will come a day when I'll be able to look back and use it as part of my journey.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any messages to your past self, whether either the first day of basic training or on deployment, or any tough times throughout your service or reintegration that you'd like to tell your younger self?
I forgive you. Yeah, that's what I say my past self. I'd say, yeah, you got to forgive yourself, man, because that airman, that shell, hell, it got you through.
Yeah.
Got you today, got you here today, so all those decisions you made, all the stupid things I did when I was in my 20s, and there was a lot, all of the turmoil, the bad decisions, all of that, in the same way you got to forgive your parents, you got to forgive yourself, because they were just doing the best they can. It's just that some parents were really shitty at it. Not mine. But it's the same thing. You got to forgive yourself. It was who you needed to be at the time and what you thought you needed to do. And the only thing you can do now is, how do I share that? How do I use that to communicate, just being human, and that it's okay? Because there's nothing that I love to hear more after like a show or something that I did or that I've seen someone do, is that, yeah, I saw myself in that. Yeah. I that's the truth. Yeah, I was there for something like that. That made me feel less alone. Yeah, and I think that's the highest compliment you can get, really. That's kind of the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see somebody go up there and do a great job, and you're just like, yo, that's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love when people cry and come up to me and hug me. I used to hate it. Like when I first started like speaking my story, and I used to be like, oh my God, why are strangers touching me? Because I didn't want to be touched either. I was like, oh. And then, like I started drinking the Kool-Aid of like, kindness, compassion, non-judgment, all the stuff that we talked about in the workshops. And I really got into it, because that is the highest compliment. When someone says, yes, I see and I feel and I was, or yeah. That was really beautiful, Miguel.
That was. And I just tell myself now, looking back, that I was enough. I've always been enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Omar, I went to grad school, and I paid a lot of money to learn that. So I'm glad you got it for less than I do, because I'm still paying that bill, man.
Oh.
Yeah. And Jenny, as you were saying, like before, writing. I find myself writing really to be a good outlet for things. If I always kind of go back to, okay, for the last time I felt, really bad about, I was really low, I find cleaning works. Going for a walk, some kind of exercise, something productive, and then really just what am I really pissed about? Like, actually just write it down. Like,
Yeah.
oh no, fucking Trump's an asshole. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and then you write some really good stuff. You know, you might not ever use it. Who cares? But that's the point, is that you get that out of yourself.
Yeah.
Onto something else.
Yeah. And it creates that, it's very tactile. Because like, oh, it's that. And then when you hear your own voice say it, like if you're in a workshop and you're reading it to someone, it's like, oh, okay, so I went through all these things and all these distractions, and I talked about my dog's tail hitting the table and, you know, whatever, the noise outside. And then I was like, oh, what's really bothering me is this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt sometimes that like you write it out and then like you realize like it fits on like a paper this big?
Yes, I have Post-its all over. I was cleaning them before we got on, and I was like, oh, this Post-it.
Is that really what I'm upset about? Really?
Yes.
It's like, come on, like, like it's really not that big a deal. It's just like, you know, and it's like, oh my, okay, I need to move on. Okay, let's. Yeah, I totally feel that. I feel the same way. Absolutely.
Miguel, let me ask you this real quick before we get to the audience, the questions from the audience. So the role that you played in the military, i.e. the soldier, you were a son, you were a leader. How has that changed in your role as an actor, a writer, or artist? How has it changed or influenced it?
Well, I was never a leader of anything in the Army. I was like a squad leader for like a week. It was terrible. I was always under someone, so I always had like, you know, someone to answer to and everything. But I find that having someone to bounce off of, I mean, you got to choose them wisely, because some people will give you bad ideas just because they don't have any good ones. But learning to trust somebody else's eye and ear, and to get out of my own way and just take a note, try it, and then you find out that it works better, and you keep it. And when somebody asks you, did you do that on purpose? Yes, I did. Did you find it by yourself? No. Yeah. I think that's one of the things in the military I wish they would have. Because we know we've seen COs who are really bad. We've had commanding officers who are just awful, and everybody knows it. And I just wish in the military there was a little bit more of like how to negotiate a poor leader. You know, because we kind of are, just because of our trust in the military, we just blindly trust whoever's in charge. And some people are really bad at being in charge. But if we know how to deal with that, and I've seen, you know, like first sergeants be really good at that, because they're constantly having to be the voice of two worlds. And I had a really, really good first sergeant in Korea, and his thing was always just make sure that if you're speaking, you'll never learn anything from speaking. Listen.
It's all about listening.
He said every good thing I've ever learned was because I was listening. And he became really good at negotiating those two worlds. So that would be one thing about the military, of learning that. They don't really teach you that in basic or AIT, really. You just get lucky, and if you have a really good drill sergeant or you have a really good mentor, they'll show you how to do that. But that's not something that's like on, you don't, can I sign up for like leadership coordination? Yeah, that would be one thing that affected me.
And it would save a lot of people's careers, because so often people get kicked out for, you know, hitting officers or speaking out of line or getting Article 15s or whatever the punishment is in the Air Force. And I think that would like literally save people from all of that.
I agree.
Like, instead of ignoring like just saying, oh, just do whatever they do. Like,
yeah,
no, what if I have a really crappy captain, like, and he tells me to do something stupid that I might get in trouble for later? I mean, you know, like, how do I negotiate that and not become a statistic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so. All right, so we're in it. Questions from the audience. Please send your questions in. We have one already. From From Tony. Hi, Tony. Miguel, he says, well done.
Thank you.
How do you propose to empower yourself and others as a creative veteran in the arts? Literary, performing, and visual during COVID and after COVID. Do you want me to read it again or you got it?
Could you read it again, actually?
Yeah. How do you propose to empower yourself and others as a creative veteran in the arts? And then during COVID and after COVID.
Okay. Well, during COVID, I read a lot. I read out loud a lot. Especially did a ton of readings, lots of Shakespeare. Like, you can never have too much, but I'd say I got pretty close. Reading out loud every day for like 20 minutes. Just that consistently really helps to get like, and if you're really brave, if you're feeling really courageous, record yourself. And then if you're feeling even more courageous, actually listen to it.
That's so true. That's so hard. I have to out myself.
Hard. I
hate listening to the sound of my own voice. I hardly ever listen to anything recorded by anybody. People are like, hey, listen to this. Look at this thing you did. And I'm like, nope.
And if you don't like how you sound, what you could do, and I did this with Jeremy Irons, did some wonderful reading of T.S. Eliot poems, and I would listen to how he says it, and then have like a microphone and listen to myself, and I would just repeat it and try to mimic him as much as I could, and just do that for like 20 minutes a day, and just that kind of like, just not that I'm trying to change myself to sound like someone, but I'm curious as to why does this sound so good to me, and how can I harness that and use it for my own purposes.
Use it for my own devices.
Excellent. Yes.
Once you adapt it and make it your own and put your own little twist, it's already different. But you elevated what you were doing before.
Yeah, and you're stretching your level of understanding of how you think something should sound, and then all of a sudden you have just a few more tools that you can use, and not use or confuse your parents at birthday parties. Yeah. Yeah.
We just got a question from Tara Krause. She said, such a rich discussion. She said, Miguel, what makes this veteran artist community different from other artist communities? What are the strengths? What can we learn?
The strengths of a veteran community like this is that we all have a shared point of understanding. When everything else fails, when like, oh my God, they're a little crazy, they're a little nuts. But if I was in a foxhole, I'd want her with me. Yeah. that same point of understanding, because like, if you're in a really, really dire situation, there's like 4 people in your platoon you want. Like just 4. If I have those 4, I'll go through anything for them. Because it's not about, and people always make this mistake when they say, oh, you go to the military to learn how to kill people. No. You go in the military to learn how to die for somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. We talk about that a lot.
Yeah. That is the entire purpose of it, because it doesn't work any other way.
Selflessness.
Yeah. And you do it because that person would do it for you.
Yeah.
You just happen to be first today. Yeah.
And then we talk about it in the workshops a lot of times, in the Women Veterans Empowered and Thriving workshop and the Veteran Artist Portal workshops. That idea that how do I learn to live for myself now that I've been able to throw myself on a grenade and save the person next to me? How do I learn to thrive through my own actions and fill my container, right? There's a lot of depletion in the veteran community. We do, whether to distract or whatever our reasons are. And what does it feel like to fill our own container and give from there and then see what we can do in the world?
Right.
Yeah, it's like putting the oxygen mask on yourself first before you go to somebody else, Because you give my mom would do this a lot. She would give so much to so many people that at the end of the day, she had nothing left for herself. And then the next day you have less to give because you didn't leave anything for yourself.
Yeah.
And that was one of those things I learned from her that she did not tell me. I just saw that.
Yeah.
So it's funny what kids like learn, you know what I mean? Like you just like you never have to teach a kid how to lie. They figure that out pretty quick.
That is very true.
Yeah. We're funny little monkeys, aren't we?
Yeah.
Running around. Yeah, here we go.
Let's try this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Zena says, I'm so making that t-shirt. I can't remember what the t-shirt was going to say. I'm saying that to me. And she said, Miguel, your wisdom is so profound. So there's a little comment and feedback for you.
If I am wise, it's because I know I am not wise. There you go.
To be or not to be?
That is la pregunta. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Yeah. I hope I said something good.
Yeah, you said a lot of good. I'm gonna listen to this again and write down all the cool things you said. The forgiveness thing was, I think, really key because there's so much that throughout my life that I definitely I didn't believe in regrets, but I definitely was not forgiving myself for the choices that I made, and that was also a long journey. You know, your 20s and like 30s, like mine were complicated and painful.
Yeah, I totally.
Yeah.
I feel that on quite a few levels. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you feel the most justified and righteous about something.
Yeah.
That's time to stop and think. What am I really mad at? What am I really trying to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because you know, especially like in COVID, when like little things become these huge, massive things later, and you know it has nothing to do with the little thing. It has nothing to do with the toilet seat being up. It's not really about the toilet seat. It's the fact that I have a bunch of shit that I haven't been able to like let go of, and you just happen to be the person in front of me right now.
Oh, the quote was, "You are fabulous until proven boring."
I love that.
Thank you, Zena. Yo, shout out. You're going to be receiving an email. You may be
Thank you. I forgot
a little invite.
Okay, yeah. Wow. So you guys are starting rehearsals. We're starting rehearsals this week.
Yeah.
Are you at the point now where you feel like, oh my God, there's so much to do? Or like, okay, I've got this, or somewhere in between?
Omar, you want to take that one first?
I'm somewhere in between. It was a lot getting to this point, especially with the writing of I was adapting the short story for the stage. So that entire process, while I was co-facilitating the Veteran Voices workshop at the same time, was a little bit for me. But right now, I'm enjoying the process of this. Is the first time I've ever heard anybody else speak the words that I wrote. So just hearing it and letting it sink in, it's amazing because, wow, I wrote this. And that part, just allowing that to be and allowing myself to be in my body and realize that the words that I put on a page are so much larger than myself.
Mm-hmm. Did you find some things like didn't work and you were like, oh shit, like I gotta write something else? or like I have to tweak that a little bit because the idea I had when spoken out loud didn't come out the way I thought it would.
Yeah, I've had.
How did you negotiate that?
I've had a couple of like my own. I speak colorfully in my own day-to-day talk, and the way I think, sometimes I realize it comes out of my head as I'm typing. But then, like you said, once it's being read and performed, it's like, let me tweak that a little bit because it only works if I say it.
Yeah, like if you put the emphasis on the wrong syllable, it doesn't make sense anymore.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm like, oh wait, but then the fact that I'm doing the thing that I'm writing is like, well, if I don't like it and it doesn't work, I have no one to blame. but this guy. So
So I'm just growing a lot with the process and the
yeah,
collaboration, and that part is interesting. I'm just really excited to really be collaborating with other veteran artists as they explore my words and produce them. So that part really is enriching to me because I like being a part of the community and working with them, and it makes me feel good to see that this story is coming to life.
excellent. Same with you, Jenny.
So I'm starting to experience how do I say this? So mine is a collaborative piece with Maria Salazar, and we're doing
Maria.
like
Yeah.
a back and forth thing with the poetry. And I think I don't want to speak for her, but I think it's her and my first time really memorizing and standing and being more not like actors in our own piece. We're still speaking our words, but we're like getting off the page and experiencing that process of reading lines to each other, of supporting each other in that way. And then we're also going to be interacting with clay on the stage. So words, clay,
Oh,
our human clay woman will be on stage with us that we will be working with. Um, so we're gonna get in the space together Monday, with our director on Zoom. So we're gonna see how it goes with our mannequin.
I might see you there. I'm on Monday as well for a little chunk as well.
Oh, we're gonna do it at my home theater here in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Oh, so I won't see you then. That's okay. Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
realized that there are three plays being presented in this upcoming workshop, and you have all three of the playwrights right here in the same interview tonight. I just caught on to that we are the three.
Kelly, did you do this? Kelly, did you do this on purpose?
The voice will be
Just
heard but not seen.
Out of nowhere, it's like what? Yeah. Yeah. Getting off book has been because I ride my bike everywhere in Manhattan, and I find like going over my lines while I'm riding a bike or doing something else, and I break it down. This is a little insane. I break it down like to be, or not, to be or not to be or not to be, then to be or not to be.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just that rudimentary, because that's how I kind of find that memorizing it, because I am repeating it over and over again. So once you have the line, then I go on to the next line and build that one, and then put the two together, and slowly but sure you end up just running it. I find the minute you can do it while you're like folding laundry or doing something else, you got it.
Yeah.
Now it's just keeping that up and just keeping that going and finding it each and every time. Yeah.
Yeah, we even scheduled every day to meet together since it is collaborative, just so we can continue to hear each other's voices as we're memorizing ourselves as well.
Yes, it's super helpful.
So yeah, it's just different, like being a poet who stands usually with a stand with my paper for like the last whatever since 2011. And now all of a sudden I'm like, let me move this and move around, and there's something freeing about it. And I'm also finding that the words hit me different when I'm not. And Alex Mallory said to me, she goes, because there is a distance when you can kind of rely on the paper and the stand that you're not fully in your body. And so now I'm reading these poems that I've read for years, like little parts of them, and they're in my body, and now I'm experiencing this emotional journey of something I've read for a long time.
Yeah, and you're vulnerably exposed to us.
Yeah,
like,
it's
no...
like hitting me for the first time. I started crying in the middle of combat yesterday, and I was like, what is this? This is actually a really sad poem about me stripping away my femininity and becoming this monster. And then how do I find my way back? Essentially to my pussy, right? How do I reclaim my femininity? I know I had to say it once during this time.
It's funny how these like illicit words like just bring up a little reaction in me.
Yeah, like everybody's like,
wonderful. And they can't help it. It just kind of.
Someone tried to censor me once with that, and they were like, dick and pussy are a little bit too explicit. And I was like, they're not bad words. They're not.
Jenny's like, that sounds more like a you problem and less of a me.
Yeah, you saw the face, right? I was like, really?
Awesome. I can't wait to check these out. I'm really like, whoo, it's gonna be interesting, isn't it? And there's like a clay woman now. Oh my goodness. It's like,
yes.
Oh my, like people saying his words. You've got like a clay woman, like Mia's there. All right, Maria, like
yeah.
Okay. No pressure.
Yeah, exactly. No pressure. Whoa. I always tell veterans when they're like, why would I write or why would I perform? That's not like combat. And I was like, stand on a stage and I promise you, you will feel like someone's shooting at you again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's the feelings, the sweats, like everything.
Oh yeah, I remember a friend of mine did like a presentation, right? And it was like physiologically, your body doesn't know the difference between you about to go on stage and a car crash. It's thinking car crash, and you have to control that, you know. And it's funny because like people say, "Oh well, it looks so easy." I'm like, yeah, like you know, Michael Jackson makes dancing look really easy, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Jordan makes basketball look really easy, doesn't he? But we take it for granted for acting because it's there's no blinders, there's no like uniform. People don't look at it as a sport; they look at it as like a something you can just do. Oh, you're a natural. Bullshit. You work at it, man. It's a fucking craft. Like
I have to constantly tell myself before I step out on stage or do a performance or either sit here on Zoom that in the military I had to do those things and get in front of people and pass this information. And now this is what I want to do. So when I actually take the time to realize that a lot of the anxiety I realize is misplaced, and it's not anxiety, it's excitement, because I got my
that's exactly the other the same chemical reaction when you're excited is the same one when you're nervous. It's just that your outlook on it is more positive. So I try to convince myself that I'm excited and not nervous, but secretly I'm really nervous. But you
just want to do your best, that's all. Just like when you're on the field.
Miguel. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is great. This is fun. Thank you for having me. This was like I'm like, it's almost nighttime. It's dinner time for us. So
yeah.
Cool. Any other questions, burning desires?
Let's see. I don't think I've been checking the chat and the Q&A. Oh, and I got the cue to wrap it up, Jenny. Go ahead, Miguel. Go ahead, one more to you.
So that's when we cue in like, okay, and
and thank you everyone tonight for your great questions, and thank you, Miguel.
Thank you, Omar. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jenny.
We appreciate everything that you do for the veteran community and for Veteran Voices program specifically. We love working with you, Miguel, and we're so grateful to count on you as a member of our community.
Thank you. You as well. I look forward to Sunday and break a leg.
Same to you, my friend. Same to you. Igualmente.
Gracias.
In 2 weeks, we will not be hosting the interview session as normally scheduled because we will instead be in the midst of our Poetic License Festival. So please, everyone, check out all of the performances we offer via the link being dropped into the chat here at the right, including Miguel's link. And then come back and join us on May 8th at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our next guest, Tara Krause. I'm looking forward to that. Yes.
So in essence of the ritual for the past and now present warriors, we close the space of vulnerability and truth with a reinforcement, saying, I reinforce something you learned today or in this interview or practicing in your life and then we'll breathe together as a community, and I encourage the viewers to breathe with us. So, Miguel, what would you like to reinforce?
Today I would like to reinforce forgiveness.
Take a deep breath in for Miguel. And release. Omar?
I'm Omar, and today I like to reinforce be fabulous until proven boring. I love that quote.
Deep breath in for Omar. And release. I'm Jenny, and I reinforce gratitude. Gratitude for the people that I meet, gratitude for everybody in the audience for showing up to listen, and for us showing up for ourselves. Thank you for joining our community. Choose thriving, not surviving. Good night. Join us on Clubhouse Lobby. Clubhouse Lobby. There's a link somewhere in the chats. Good night, everybody.
Bye, guys. Bye,
Bye,
Omar. Bye,
Thank you,
Jenny.
Miguel. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you, Miguel. Yay.